Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor and a privilege to report on and comment on the news for all of you. And now with this latest story, we know the end of times has truly begun. And I bid you farewell. Okay, at least until the monkey virus wipes everybody out. I'll still be making these videos, but in all seriousness, here's the story. Driver who stopped to help truck when carrying 100 lab monkeys crashed in Pennsylvania and put her hand in one of the cages says she now has a cough and pink eye after one of the macaques hissed in her face. All right. Okay. You know what? Maybe humans deserve everything coming to them. I can't blame people for not knowing stuff, though, to be honest. But a lot of people are joking that it's happening. Planet of the Apes. 'Twas not a movie for entertainment, but a prophetic documentary. That in this film, James Franco's a scientist, and he's trying to cure Alzheimer's or something using enhanced viruses that can reprogram cells. And then, you know, he gives it to a chimp, and the chimp becomes smart, but then the virus actually kills human, and then humans get wiped out, and then the smart chimps take over. I guess it's a prequel to Planet of the Apes or whatever, a prequel, reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. Now, I don't know if we're actually going to be dealing with the apocalypse here, but there are concerns because these monkeys may have been used, or I should say, I don't want to be too speculative. They have been using monkeys for COVID research. And that is to say that perhaps these monkeys were infected with COVID. I don't know for sure, but the woman says she's experiencing COVID symptoms, and they're brutal. Could this be the Omega variant? The final variant to wipe out mankind? Probably not. But I just want to point out how funny it would be if, like, in 100 years, it really does. And then they have this video record, like the remaining humans who are of the lineage that were immune to the virus. They have, like, this video, and they're like, look how flippant and obnoxious these people were at the time. Totally oblivious to the fact that the end was nigh, and soon civilization would be purged by their own actions. 'Twas their own undoing. All right. Let's read the news and see what's going on. This is serious, to be honest, though, because there's something called I think it's the herpes B virus that these monkeys carry, and it can be really, really bad. And this woman may be sick, so she's got to get tested. They're warning law enforcement about this. For those that aren't familiar, the start of the story is that a truck was carrying 100 monkeys, and it crashed, and some of the monkeys escaped. Here we go. A woman who stopped to help after a truck carrying 100 lab monkeys crashed in Pennsylvania, fears she caught an illness after one of the macaques hissed in her face, leaving her with pink eye symptoms. I mean, this is like literally out of a movie. A truck crashes, a bumbling old woman walks over and looks at the cage, and the monkey screams and spits in her face. She goes, "Arr!" And then she gets sick later, and then she bites someone, and then they turn into a zombie, and then here we go. Michelle Fallon from Danville near Scranton was driving directly behind the vehicle when it crashed, throwing animal crates all over the highway and smashing some into pieces. 3 of the macaques escaped and went on the run, but all have since been captured and humanely euthanized. Destroying the evidence, huh? Let's see. All the other monkeys who arrived in the U.S. from Mauritius, how do you pronounce it? Mauritius, that morning, and were en route to the lab, have been accounted for. Fallon has now had a rabies shot, actually 4, I believe, and wrote about the symptoms she has since suffered on Facebook, and also told PA Homepage that she's developed symptoms of pink eye. She said, "I was close to the monkeys. I touched the crates. I walked through their feces, so I was very close. So I called a helpline to inquire, was I safe? Because the monkey did hiss at me, and there were feces all around, and I did have an open cut." What? They just want to be precautious. This is insane. All right, I'm telling you right now, false flag, okay? This is the official narrative now for when the Omega variant of COVID or whatever wipes out mankind. They're going to be like, there's the story. It was a woman who walked in monkey poop, who touched the monkey crates and got hissed at with an open cut. So in fact, I'm kidding, by the way. I'm joking. I don't know what's going to happen, but I got to be honest, I don't think a whole lot. I think this is just a silly story people like to joke about. Hopefully this woman is fine, though. I mean, they say Fallon said she got out to help the driver and the animals, and good for her, right? To help the driver especially, initially believing them to be cats. When she approached and put her hand on the cage, she says the monkey hissed at her. The day following the accident, Fallon suddenly developed a cough and pink eye, which became so bad she had to visit the emergency room. Oh no! She says she's got COVID symptoms, right? Like seriously, a day from hell, she said. Look at this! Look at the last of the 4 monkeys to be captured. I thought they said 3 monkeys. What's going on? Where are these monkeys at? Yeah, there's a monkey on the run. And if there was a monkey on the run, would they really tell everybody? Infectious disease doctors gave her the first of 4 rabies injections. Oh, okay, so she got 1 rabies injection, together with some antiviral drugs. She said on Facebook that she was monitoring for symptoms of rabies and monkey herpes virus B. Yikes. What a day. I tried to help out in an accident and was told there were cats in the crates, so I went over to pet them only to find out it's monkeys. Then I noticed that there were 3 in each, with some completely broken, so I knew 4 had gotten away. I came home to go to bed and my aunt ran into a news crew and she found out not to get too close to the monkey. Well, I tried to pet one. I touched the crates and walked in poop. I was told to meet the police at the scene to talk about exposure. I spoke with the police and a woman from the CDC. I am getting a letter and I am very low risk for I don't know what yet, but my symptoms are COVID symptoms, like seriously, a day from hell. COVID symptoms, huh? I don't know. I gotta question this here narrative. Hold on there a minute. She was told there were cats in the crates and she went to go pet them. There were 3 in each, so she knew 4 had gotten away. How? What if the crates were just empty and broken? How did she know? See, I don't trust this, huh? I don't know. Whatever, man. I have no idea what's going on. The story's probably as the story is. What is monkey herpes B virus? They add, in a side note, contracting the B virus is extremely rare, but it can lead to severe brain damage or death if you do not get treatment immediately. People typically get infected with B virus if they are bitten or scratched by an infected macaque monkey or have contact with the monkey's eyes, nose, or mouth. You may develop small blisters in the wound or area on your body that had contact with the monkey. There are no known vaccines to protect against a B virus infection, and so people are urged not to touch or feed monkeys. Only 1 case has been documented of an infected person spreading B virus to another person. So the herpes B virus is legit. It causes, what is it? Encephalitis? Is that what they say it causes? Yeah. 20 of the B virus infections are extremely rare. They say, as of 2020, there have been 50 documented cases of human B virus infection since the identification of the virus in 1932, 21 of which led to death. At least 20 of the patients developed some degree of encephalitis. Encephalitis is, I believe, it's inflammation of the brain, right? Severity can be variable with symptoms, including reduced or alteration in consciousness, headache, fever, confusion, stiff neck, and vomiting. Oh no. It sounds like the zombie apocalypse is going to happen. Okay. I know. I'm kidding. I keep saying I'm kidding because I know that these media companies are going to be like Tim Pool thinks the zombie apocalypse is starting. Fallon has been told to keep a close eye on her health for the next month in case she develops any infectious disease as a result of being so close to them. The test monkeys were on their way to a laboratory in Florida when the truck crashed into a garbage truck. Fallon said that she spoke with a pickup driver and a passenger directly after the crash. The driver appeared to be disoriented, and the passenger thought he might have injured his legs. The pickup was heading on I-80 west when it got off at the Danville exit and then immediately tried to get back on, driving across the other lane. Weird. Fallon explained how she was behind the pickup when it was hit on the passenger side by the dump truck, tearing off the front panel of the trailer and sending more than a dozen crates tumbling out. She and another motorist who stopped to help were standing near the scene when the other driver said he thought he saw a cat run across the road. Dear first responders from DHHS. Dear first responder, you're receiving this letter because you responded to a vehicular accident on Interstate 80 near Danville, blah, blah, blah. Non-human primates and humans are naturally susceptible to many of the same diseases, blah, blah, blah. Please be aware that the surviving monkeys will be quarantined and will be monitored for infectious diseases for at least 31 days before their release. Release? What do you mean release? We will contact the Pennsylvania State Department of Health and police, blah, blah, blah. If you were within 5 feet of the crates without respiratory and eye protection, monitor yourself for fever, fatigue, cough, diarrhea, and vomiting. If you become ill during the 31-day quarantine period, you should immediately report to your physician that you had exposure to monkeys and notify the Pennsylvania State Department of Health. Look at this, man. Crates holding live monkeys were pictured scattered on the interstate. So I've actually seen these crates before. When I worked for American Eagle Airlines out of Chicago, we had 2 of these, I think 2, come through, and there were monkeys in them, and they were shipping them by aircraft. And one of the guys that I worked with actually walked up and was mashing bananas into it. I tell you this stuff, man. Don't transport animals. This guy, he was mashing bananas, and the monkeys weren't having any of it. They were just screaming at him. And I was like, dude, you're crazy, man. All right. So we got this. They say crash update. There's still 1 monkey unaccounted for. We were asking no one attempt to look for it. I think they may have gotten it, though, because I think they said they killed it. So all of the escaped monkeys were accounted for by Saturday, after the Pennsylvania Game Commission and other agencies launched a search for it amid frigid weather. 3 of the escaped lab monkeys were dead after being euthanized. One of the cynomolgus macaques, which are also known as crab-eating or long-tailed macaques, was found in a tree, and 3 shots were later heard. That's a bummer of a story, man. Just imagine, you're locked in a crate, and then this alien ship crashes, and you escape, and you run, and you climb a tree, and you're hiding desperately, and then all of a sudden a bunch of these aliens they start firing laser beams at you and just vaporize your ass. Yeah, it's just. I get it, man. The monkeys are dangerous. This is man's world and all that stuff. But I feel bad for these monkeys, They don't want to be lab experimented on. And here they are trying to escape and find freedom and hide in a tree, and they get shot down. State police urge people not to look for the captured cynomolgus macaque following the crash. This we get. Look at this guy. What is this? PETA reminded residents after the crash that there is no way to ensure the monkeys are virus-free. Yeah, and what does PETA have to do with this? I don't trust them. Anyone who sees or locates the monkey is asked not to approach or attempt to catch, this we know. Trooper Lauren Lesher had said the concern was due to it not being a domesticated animal and them being in an unknown territory. It's hard to say how they would react to a human approaching them. The shipment of monkeys was en route to a CDC-approved quarantine facility after arriving. Now here's what gets crazy. They say that the monkeys are in high demand for COVID testing. Look at this. The monkeys, whose DNA is similar to humans, have been in high demand amid the COVID-19 pandemic, with some scientists calling for an emergency reserve of the test subjects similar to the country's stockpiles of oil and grain. Monkeys! Anthony Fauci runs Monkey Torture Island. Okay, maybe it's a little bold, but the NIAID, through Fauci, funded Monkey Torture Island, where they were conducting maximum pain experiments, where they would take monkeys and then try and see how much pain they could handle. So look, I don't believe in alien abductions. Sorry, I just don't. It's possible. It's in the realm of possibility. I mean, it's not like we're talking about wizards teleporting between dimensions, but I guess technically that would be possible too. And depending on how much you want to speculate on the reality of how much you want to speculate on, what is possible. But I'll put it this way. I'm not going to sit here and entertain the idea of interdimensional machine elves or anything like that. I find the ideas interesting. But the fact that we can travel in outer space, well, that's true, we can. The fact that we do experiments on what we consider to be lesser animals, that's true too. And it could be that if there were alien abductions, it falls in line perfectly with what we do already. Some have speculated that aliens are in fact humans from the future. Yeah. Now imagine this. If aliens are actually people from the future and they went back in time, they would want to capture and experiment on humans. And as such, they would experiment on humans of no consequence. Or at least people, what was it? That movie, what was that movie? The Tomorrow War or something like that with Chris Pratt? And they go to, there's people from the past, they go to the future to fight a war because they need more people. And they only take people who would have died and then, not made it to the future or whatever, so they don't alter the timeline or something like that. I don't know, kind of doesn't make sense, but you get the point. I don't know how we're talking about aliens right now, but yeah, there you go. Aliens go back in time and experiment on humans. The point I'm trying to make is, I'm trying to humanize this. We do experimentations on other animals. I'm not a big fan. I'm also not naive. I understand that a lot of medical advancements come from doing experiments on animals. We caught a mouse the other day. Sad little mouse. And I'm like, what do we do with it? Do we put him outside where he dies? And if we put him outside too close to the house, he just comes back in the house. If he stays in the house, he causes damage. And they got diseases and stuff. So what are we supposed to do? Well, we caught the fella and we just put him outside. If he made it back in, good for him. He deserves to live. If not, I don't want the little mouse to die, even though he's a little field mouse. It's not the most important creature in my world. I'll never think about him after this moment, probably. But we like life, and we want to preserve it within reason. In fact, there's this viral video of a lioness protecting, I think it was like a gazelle baby or something. And they were, and the news was like, These outlets were saying experts believe that the maternal instincts of the lioness overpowered her hunt drive because this wouldn't normally happen. And I'm like, maybe, like humans, the lion understood sometimes you don't kill the babies because the babies need to grow up to have more babies. Could that be it? Could it be that typically lions are desperate for food, and if they're well fed, they'll just be like, hey, we're not going to, kill this baby? I mean, that makes sense too. We like life. We want to preserve life, and typically we view people who like taking it as wrong, as bad. When Anthony Fauci did the extreme experiments on beagles, we called it insane. But experiments need to be done so that we can figure out how to navigate and improve other people's lives. That's the big challenge. I've often said, or I've said before, I'd be willing to forego the rate of progress if it meant less suffering for many of these animals. And it meant more human volunteers for research projects if they're, well informed of the risks and the research isn't violating the Nuremberg Code. But I don't know if this is going to lead to something more serious than just, a lady getting pink eye or something. But maybe this is the perfect story. Pops up in the news. A lot of people laugh at it. The story then gets more serious. A woman is sick. What's the next step? Either nothing happens and no one talks about it, or within a week or so, this woman is in critical condition and this area of Pennsylvania is quarantined. People break out of the quarantine, and here we go. Nah, it's fanciful thinking. I got a dose of reality for you. You want to know what's actually scary? You want to know what's actually going on? This story right here. Boston patient removed from heart transplant list for being unvaccinated. Yeah, see, that's reality. The monkey stuff is fun. It's funny. It's scary a little bit, but ultimately probably not going to lead to much. But you could be on the transplant list. And then for whatever reason, you're not vaccinated. They'll say, sorry, no heart for you. A 31-year-old father has been removed from the heart transplant list at a Boston hospital because he's refusing to get the vaccine. COVID vaccine. DJ Ferguson was the first on the list to receive a transplant at Brigham and Women's Hospital, but he is no longer eligible because of his vaccination status. His father, David Ferguson, said his son, who is fighting for his life in the hospital and is in desperate need of a transplant, doesn't believe in the COVID vaccine. It's kind of against his basic principles. He doesn't believe in it. It's a policy they are enforcing, and so because he won't get the shot, they took him off the list of a heart transplant. My friend, you are going to die without the heart. Assuming that's the case, maybe he's at the top of the list. Yo, if it were me, I get it. Like the issue is the mandates, not the vaccine itself. And that's what's crazy to me. This is a step too far, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care if you get the vaccine. I don't care what you think about the vaccine. That's your private business. You can believe what you want. You can read what you want. You can talk to your doctors to figure out what makes sense for you. But if you're going to die anyway, if someone came to me and said, you're going to die, and like I was literally dying and just really awful and genuinely just like knew it in my heart of hearts. And they said, we can try a bunch of crazy stuff, keep you alive. I'd be like, experiment away. It's called right to try laws. And I think Florida recently passed one. I could be wrong. The idea is that if you're going to die anyway, let's try whatever we can. This is amazing. This is the kind of experimentation I'm talking about because you're going to die. And if we try experimental procedures on people who are going to die anyway, then ultimately you will find out of 100 people, we try all these things, one thing works. We're like, whoa, that worked. This person lived. Then you get a few more people who are dying. You say, we're going to try this one because out of all the 100 we tried before, this one worked. Boom, boom, boom. It's working again. All of a sudden you're like, we think we may have discovered a treatment that can save these people's lives. Right to try is awesome. For this dude to be literally on the verge of death, if it were me, I would do just about anything. I'd be like, I've grown quite fond of living. I would eat tree bark if the doctor suggested it was an option. Or if he said, there's a 0.0001 chance eating tree bark could save you. I'd be like, bring it on in. I'll eat it. Because what? You're going to die anyway. So for this guy, first, I'll say this. A lot of people don't understand. I got to be honest with you guys. I don't like the mandates. This freaks me out. The guy's not vaccinated. Now he dies. Similarly, there's a guy who was getting a kidney transplant and something similar happened. The way they do transplants is that you have to be a perfect candidate. So they have these boards where they'll discuss it and they'll say, this person's an alcoholic and a drug user. We're not giving him a heart. Or this guy's a father who works a good job and is otherwise healthy, he should get the heart. For this guy, I don't know his medical history. Now we're hearing the hospital say COVID-19 vaccines are required if you want to get this. From a bureaucratic standpoint, from an administrative standpoint, it makes sense. The question is, this is an emergency use authorized vaccine. I don't know if hospitals should be setting that criteria right now. If it's fully FDA approved, I will stand aside, okay? And right now, I think the only one that is Comirnaty, and the other ones aren't. So this guy is now being told he's going to die unless he takes an emergency use authorization treatment. I just think that's wrong. I think it's wrong. But, bro, if, you don't got to be happy about it. But I'd rather you live and then tell your story and explain to people why it was wrong. Be that person. And I'll tell you this too, if you're really concerned about it for health reasons or whatever, and something bad happens, then you can be like, my life is the example, and people can tell that story, right? I don't see why you should just let yourself go. The hospital is the bad guy in this, don't get me wrong. Deciding that a guy at the top of the list, now he's off the list because of an EUA, vaccine. I'm like, that they shouldn't do that. But you know what? If this guy is willing to die to stand for what he believes, that says a lot more about so many other people. And you know what? I respect people's choices. If this guy is making a choice for himself, far be it from me to criticize him. That's I'm not the same. It's this guy's taking a choice, taking a chance, and doing what he thinks is right. And that's the only thing we can do. And honestly, I wish more people were willing to do it. Personally, I think he should live, which means getting the vaccine. If his doctors are recommending it. For you, maybe it's different. I'll leave it there, man. Monkeys and heart transplants, yikes. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.